Good morning and welcome to the Newly News. I'm Claudia.
And I'm Sam, and we are here today to tell you some exciting information about entertainment in Hollywood from the past.
So let's get started.
First off, black and white movies. The first time movies in color were even mentioned was in 1904, and it wasn't until 1953 that it actually became a reality. The two TV giants of the time, CBS and RCA, were battling it out to create the first broadcast in color. CBS was the first to create a color broadcast system, but it wasn't compatible with any of the black and white TVs. RCA ultimately won the TV war because they were the first to broadcast color in 1953. While color TV did now exist, many channels didn't start broadcasting in color until 1966, with the first color TV program variety show called Premiere, but it only reached 4 cities. Color television didn't affect just TV shows. It became a thing of sports too. On August 11, 1951, CBS aired the first baseball game, the Brooklyn Dodgers versus the Boston Braves. Go sports ball!
Now on to movie genres. Popular genres now in 2017 are very different from genres back in 1920. Starting at the beginning, science fiction was very popular. For example, King Kong came out in 1933. Throughout each decade, the popularity of different genres would change. For instance, in the 1940s and 50s, Western solo heroes were popular. In the 60s, action movies with groups of heroes are popular. In 1980s, early 80s, urban crimes and international spy movies were popular. And the 1990s and 2000s were comedy and romance. In the 1990s, there was a huge increase in production films and control of media, which added more special effects to the movie.
Do you like silent movies? Neither do I. Silent movies were popular in the 1920s and the 1930s rather than today, of course, where movies such as action and romance rule the world. Although calling them silent movies is not actually correct, because music from full orchestras were used in the background, and if not, movie theaters would provide pianists to play along with the movie. I know, yes, I'm sorry, your life has been a lie.
Now on to everyone's favorite, Disney movies. Disney movies have been popular since 1937. It all started with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. These movies only started with animation, but eventually started to make live-action movies in the 1950s, which was Treasure Island. Throughout the years, the style of Disney movies have changed, especially the Disney princesses and their stories. In the early and mid-1900s, princesses such as Cinderella, Snow White, and Sleeping Beauty have had similar stories. All of their stories ended with being saved by their prince and living happily ever after. As the years progressed, Disney changed their storylines and made princesses accomplish their goals and becoming more independent women. Also, with Disney movies, the look of the movies have changed. The pictures that we see today have more realistic features and more special effects involved.
3D movies were first created in 1922, but they didn't really shoot off until the 1950s. After the popularity boom, 3D movies started to die down until IMAX and Disney started making them. And then, after success in movies, TV began airing in 3D too. While getting into the 2000s, children's movies in 3D became very popular, one of the first being Journey to the Center of the Earth, which most people might know. And a fun fact that I've learned with research from our lovely scientists. Did you know that we don't actually see the world in 3D? We only think we do because our eyes make the illusion that we are seeing things in 3D using size and shading, but we really see the world in 2D. Blows your mind, doesn't it?
Do you ever get sick of a TV show or movie and suddenly find yourself skipping through channels to find something better to watch? It isn't hard for us today because there are hundreds of channels to choose from. Well, back in the mid-1900s, people were only limited to 3 to 5 channels, and most of the channels were only news stations. Back in 1928, the first TV channel was created. It was called W3XK. It was an experimental station that was broadcast by the Federal Radio Commissioners. The news station started to become very popular after the assassination of President Kennedy. In the 1980s, news stations started to feature different segments such as sports and weather, which made more people interested in watching the news.
Now let's talk about horror films, but don't worry, horror movie haters, there won't be any horror in this lesson. First off, did you know that horror movies were originally created to be scary? They were created to be more wondrous and mysterious. The word horror was first described in the 1930s. Previously, it was just described as romance melodrama with a dark element. In the 1920s and 1930s, science fiction horror films were popular, followed by radioactive mutant themes in the 1940s and 1950s. In the 1960s, gore films became popular and zombie movies started popping up. In the 1970s and 1980s, occult and slasher movies were popular, and of course, with the development of CGI, monster movies became a big hit in the 1990s. Getting back into the 2000s, zombie movies again, and in present day, horror movies are horrifying as they just seem to get scarier. Far from the intended meaning, I would say, but evolution or something.
Well, that seems all the time we have for today, so thanks for watching.
But join us next week on a lovely and exciting segment we like to call Are You Afraid of Raccoons?